Hello, I'm Stephen Chalmers with UIInsight, and welcome to this segment titled No Commas, Spaces, or Blanks. Here's a form that's asking for the Social Security number. It's a federal student aid PIN form. Let's zoom in on the field that's looking for the Social Security number. It's demanding that the Social Security number be entered without the dashes. Enter the Social Security number that is printed on your Social Security card. Enter this number without the dashes. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the problem with that is none of us think of our Social Security number, those of us who have Social Security numbers, we don't think of those as 10 digits in a string. We think of them as the first 3 followed by a dash, and then there's 2, and then followed by a dash, and 4 more. So that's really the way we would prefer to be able to enter them, because that's what we're familiar with. Let's look at another example of no commas, spaces, or blanks. So here's a form asking for a credit card number. It is a sign up for a hosting plan. And for the credit card information, it says numbers only please, no dashes or spaces. And again, if we look at an example credit card number, not mine, a test number, if we look at this number, we expect to see it with dashes because 16 digits all run together, that second row there, is very hard to read. It's hard to tell that there's actually 16 digits as compared to the first one. At a glance, it's pretty easy to look at that and see the 4 segments of that number, and each of those segments has 4 digits. So it's very easy to validate at a glance that you've got the right number of digits. It's also easy to validate that each of those segments has the correct digit. So let's look at one more example of no commas, spaces, or blanks. So here's a form where we're entering the total amount quoted. Let's zoom in on that. For the total amount quoted, it says, please don't enter commas, numbers only. So again, what if we're entering a huge number? What if the quoted number is 12,456,000, whatever? You would hate to screw that up and enter 124 million by entering 1 digit too many because you didn't notice because you didn't have the commas in there. It's much easier to validate this dollar amount when you put in the commas. That's why they're there. So the rule of thumb here is allow the user to enter the data in the format that makes sense to them. So if it's a Social Security number, we're used to seeing those dashes, let them enter the dashes. If it's, what was the other one we did? Credit card numbers, let them enter those dashes. And same with dollar amounts, let them enter those commas. The thing is, this is not terribly difficult code. It's actually one line of code where we use a regular expression to extract the dashes or spaces or commas or whatever. It's actually very straightforward code. We also have the advantage if we allow the users to enter the data in the format they expect. Let me scroll back up there. We're avoiding error messages. So if you've got a form and you insist that they enter their credit card number with no dashes, even if you put that instruction right next to that credit card number field, it's entirely possible people won't notice that and they'll just enter their credit card number either with spaces or dashes or whatever makes sense to them. And then they'll enter it, then they'll get an error message, then they'll have to go back and fix it. So if you allow the flexible input of dashes or spaces, the user is going to complete that form much faster because they're not going to get the error message, and then they're also not going to have to fix it. Another advantage of allowing the user to enter the data in the format that makes the most sense to them is you're going to find fewer errors in that data entry. Again, because the format's familiar to them, it's easier for them to validate they've entered the correct data, and thus you're getting more accurate data. I'm using Camtasia to record this, and in fact just ordered it today. I've been using a trial version, and you'll be happy to know probably that their form was very flexible. They asked for my phone number, and I put in dashes, no complaints. They asked for my credit card number, of course, that's how I bought it. And again, I entered, in that case, spaces between the numbers. It all worked just fine. So it's not terribly difficult to implement. Again, it's easy to code. Put a little pressure on your developers or your development team for the extra time the developers need to do this. It's not that much work, and it'll make your users a lot happier. Thank you for listening. Again, my name is Stephen Chalmers with UIInsight, and my email address is stephen@UIInsight. Please feel free to send me any comments or questions you might have. I look forward to hearing from you.